Tracy, will you please call the roll?
Alderman Garriga,
Oh, that's
Here.
Oh, there she is.
Halloran,
Here.
Lewis,
Here.
Moranti,
Here.
Nissan,
Here.
Rosenthal,
Here.
Sauer,
Here.
Trombley,
Jane, you're muted.
Yeah, sorry. Okay.
Walker,
Here.
Wolf,
Here.
Present Pietro,
Here.
quorum present.
Can I have a motion, please, to dispense with the reading of the minutes of November 10th, 17th, two meetings on the 17th, and November 19th, and place them on file?
Calvin, I'll make a motion.
Calvin, a second?
Duan.
All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Anybody opposed? The motion carries. Okay, committee reports are on your desks, your virtual desks. May I have a motion and a second to place committee reports on file? Introduction, please.
Motion.
Jane, and a second by Shosha. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye. Aye.
Anyone opposed? The motion carries. We have a presentation that I'm going to put up high in the agenda, but before we get there, a couple announcements and then the communications. Some of you may have seen or heard that there's going to be special recycling tomorrow morning as well as Thursday, but if you get it out tomorrow in anticipation that Thursday there might be a storm and it'll be harder for them to see your recycling. So if you can, get it out tonight. Secondly, as you know, we passed a resolution in support of the hospital workers, and they will be outside tomorrow picketing, but not striking, between 2:30 and 4:30 and 6:30 and 8:30. So if you want to go out and support them, that's at the hospital. And lastly, the Conservation Advisory Council is seeking new members, preferably those people with some experience in environmental issues and perhaps a science background. The communications, you've seen the list, most of them we had last week. The only two new ones are a email from Michael Hoffman regarding gentrification in the city of Hudson, and a letter to the city from the city planning board strongly supporting the reappointment of two of its members, Betsy Gramco and John Cody. Can I have an introduction and a second to receive the communications and place them on file? An introduction, please. Alvin. A second.
Duan.
Dewan. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
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 Anyone opposed? Okay, so let's do the DRI presentation now while they're all here and waiting. Shaheem, who's gonna, James, is this gonna be your screen?
Yes.
Okay, Shaheem, James Roboto, can you give him, allow him to share the screen?
Yep, he's all good.
He's all good? Okay, James, you need any introduction? The Arterial, who the city has hired to design the Hudson Connects project, the DRI project, the largest project of the DRI projects controlled by the city, run by the city, are at the stage of inviting comments and proposing what they're going to actually do and have done by construction contractors. They're here tonight to present. It's not a final presentation. They're inviting comments on everything you will see. With that being said, James, you want to take over? Oh, let me introduce them. James Roboto, David Lusberg, and Who else is here from you guys?
Saeed Paracha.
Oh, and say, okay, guys, take it over.
All right, I'm going to do just a very quick introduction, then I'm going to turn it over to James. Thanks, Tom. This is incredibly exciting. Thank you, everyone, for your time tonight. This is the culmination of 5 or 6 months of work, so we're very excited to discuss this with all of you. Quick special thank yous to everyone who's been participating all along now. The mayor, of course, Michael and Tom for really guiding this. Rob Perry and his team, we've been working very closely with. And of course, the members of the community that have come out, the various outreach projects, and of course, the demonstration project. This truly has been a collaborative effort. And so we're excited to bring it forward to you tonight. Just a quick about the very quickly about our team. Our firm is called Arterial. I'm one of the partners. James is the other partner, and Saeed is with us tonight. The project is in 2 phases. So the first phase, just as a reminder, is the planning phase, planning and scoping, and that's what we're in right now. So this phase right now, we're figuring out the scope and what the improvements might be. And for that phase, Arterial is teamed with a firm called Street Plans out of Brooklyn, and they're a planning firm. So we've partnered on this first phase together. As it moves to the second phase, which is construction, Arterial will be partnered with Creighton Manning, which is an engineering firm, and they will guide the construction of the project. So that's the team. We're very excited to present this to you tonight. James, if you want to flip to the next slide there quickly. So just a quick reminder of what this is all about and how we try to view streets. We want to really create high performance streets that do more, streets that are really giving you a great return on your investment. Go ahead, James. So high performance streets have 5 categories. And if you've been to our other presentations, you've heard this before, so I apologize. But the 5 categories that we try to view streets through, 1 is functionality and safety. Of course, always a priority. 2 is arts and culture. Is it designed to reflect the culture of that place? Health and the environment. Is it sustainable? Economic vitality. Does it support the property values and also the businesses that are located along that street? And finally, design quality. And design quality means that we want to build streets that last. So that's about working very closely with Rob Perry and your maintenance department to make sure that whatever we're building can stand the test of time. So that's what a high performance street is. And that's what we'd like to achieve through this project in working with the city and the community. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to James, and he's going to take you through where we are tonight.
Great. Thanks, Dave. So our plan for this evening is basically to provide a 30-minute presentation. There's a lot for us to cover, but we feel like we can get it done in 30 minutes. And at the end, we can have some time for question and answers. So the objectives for today are threefold. The first is identify what the project goals and key findings are. We basically want to review with you all the data collection and public outreach process that was extensive for this project and solidify the goals for the connectivity plan that we have arrived at. Second is to present the connectivity plan vision. We want to share some general concepts for streetscape improvements that can be applied district-wide. And then finally is to actually look at how some of those examples are applied to specific areas within the district. So important to go back and just remember the DRI grant, the application, the money that was received by the city was roughly $4 million for improvements to what was outlined as the Bridge District, which we'll look at what that project area is in a couple slides. And the goal was to address pedestrian safety, enhance multimodal transportation, and improve connectivity to adjacent neighborhoods and the city's downtown. So that was the real goal of the DRI grant application for this project. From a schedule standpoint, where we sit right now is the fall, winter of 2020, where we're presenting the connectivity plan. We look to have a final submission in late January, and we'll have some more next immediate steps at the end of the presentation. And then the exciting part, which is getting into construction. The idea is to begin construction in the fall of 2021 so that this project will become a reality very shortly. So looking at the actual district itself, what you see here is the boundary outlined in black dashed lines. And it basically includes from 2nd Street to the waterfront, and then from Dock Street all the way down to the Basilica, the area around the Basilica. So that is the project area that we're looking at. And the goal with these improvements, again, is that they can be applied citywide. So while we are looking at this particular area, there are things that will come out of this plan that can, again, be applied to the city itself. So looking at the public outreach and analysis process, we wanted to just quickly take everyone through what we have been doing over the last several months with the project. So the first thing we did was we met and did a walkabout. We did a public workshop where we actually got on the street and we walked around with a group of people, and we took in all of the observations and the things that people saw, that they experienced from a day-to-day standpoint in their neighborhoods. From that, we also then conducted our own, what we call a high performance street analysis, where we look at the condition of the streets. We see, in relation to the categories that Dave laid out, how the streets are performing in those categories, and what deficiencies may exist. Third, we conducted a number of stakeholder meetings with various groups to understand the concerns and aspirations that both local residents and professionals had for this project. And then fourth, we had an open house down at the waterfront. We actually combined this open house with the Promenade Hill Park project, which is another DRI grant that is concurrent with this project. And again, it was to collect some feedback, share some of the feedback that we've heard, put down on paper some of the initial thoughts and ideas. And it was at this open house that we vetted the idea of a demonstration project where we would actually test some of these concepts on the street. So instead of drawing them on paper, we would actually put them out on the street and get some feedback. And so that was driven by the community input that we got from that open house. And all of this basically culminated with the actual installation of the demonstration project, which, again, if you can remember, if you were there, the whole idea was to take design concepts that we had arrived at preliminarily through the feedback that we had collected, and use temporary materials to actually demonstrate how streets and intersections could be made safer, could be transformed in reality, so that we could then collect feedback from that demonstration project, get actual comments back from the public. How did you feel about this? What were your thoughts? And then take that and incorporate it into the final design. We also, in addition, had the engineer who is on our team actually go out and observe both of the locations to see how cars were reacting, how travel speeds may have been affected, pedestrians crossing the street. So it was really a great culmination of outreach in that demonstration project to collect a lot of feedback. And we're thankful for everyone for filling out those surveys. We collected over 250 responses. So very good data that we've been able to use. So from all that, we have boiled down a few key findings that we'd like to share. It is clear that there are gaps in the pedestrian network. Some streets are missing sidewalks entirely, while others have sidewalks that are in disrepair. There are inaccessible intersections. There are no intersections within the entire bridge district that have ADA accessible ramps at all corners. So not one intersection is completely ADA compliant. High design speeds. We found that a lot of the road designs do not actually reinforce posted speed limits. Drive lanes are often wide. They lack on-road striping, which is visual cues to slow down and where vehicles should be. Also, uncomfortable cycling conditions. There are few amenities to support recreational or transportation options such as biking or scooters and that kind of thing. And it's something that we, in our time in Hudson, have seen a lot of cyclists, from a recreational standpoint and transportation biking around the streets. And then finally, one of the things that really struck us was the disconnection between the waterfront. Front Street, which is essentially the waterfront promenade for the city, that's the street that parallels the river. You wouldn't recognize that. You wouldn't realize that the Hudson River is right there. There's very few direct kind of connection to the waterfront. So those were some of the key findings. Based on those key findings, we developed a series of goals that we feel will address all of these key findings. And the 3 goals that we're setting forth for the connectivity plan really address these findings. And they're not listed in order of priority, but really to best serve the presentation for this evening. So the first goal is to celebrate the historic integrity. The second goal is to make streets safe and accessible for all. And the third goal is to reconnect the waterfront. And we'll elaborate on all 3 of these goals now as we move through the presentation. So goal 1, celebrating the historic integrity. As one of the first planned cities in America, the history of the city is still evident today. And it's really an amazing quote that we think is very appropriate, just to remind us of the history of Hudson, that it actually has been referred to as one of the richest dictionaries of architectural history in New York State. So the streetscape really should provide a ground plane that supports the historic fabric that exists in Hudson and does not detract from it. So the materials themselves should be authentic and reflect that history. And I want to make a point of it here because it was mentioned in the survey on the demonstration project that the bright colors of the demonstration project were done to bring attention to the project and are not necessarily emblematic of the palette that we are proposing. And again, we are taking the cue from the history of the city itself. And again, making sure that it is authentic. And when we look at some inspiration images, we see that a number of historic streets throughout the United States and on the East Coast in particular really utilize simple, timeless materials such as granite, cobbles, and concrete, which you see in the images on the screen. And we feel that that palette then does not compete with the historic fabric of the architecture that is so rich in Hudson. So the palette that we are proposing is similar, and I will flash that on the screen here. We are proposing using these various materials such as granite sets in the upper left-hand picture, granite pavers as depicted in the upper right-hand picture, both tinted concrete in the lower left-hand picture with saw-cut score lines, as you see in the bottom right image, and then using at specific key spots engraved granite bands, which you can see in the middle photo there. And again, these are timeless materials, materials that have been used throughout time that last, and again, are simple in nature. And we're proposing that then for the furniture palette, we take a little bit more of a modern expression in some of the elements, because we also recognize that Hudson is also a modern city. So it has a rich history, but it also is a modern city, and we want to recognize that. So we're looking at a few different elements here. The current light fixture we think goes well with this palette. The trash receptacles, the bollards that we may use, bike racks as you see, the tree pit guards, and then a family of benches that can be used in different situations where we may want to have a backed bench where people are going to stay and linger longer. We may want to have a backless bench so that you can sit on both sides, and a smaller bench for smaller areas and tighter areas and that kind of thing. So the furniture and materials palette, again, we feel complements the diversity, the sort of richness in that history of Hudson itself. So with that goal, those are the visuals to keep in mind as we then start to progress through some actual improvements that we're going to show you on the street. So coming to goal 2, where we want to make streets safe and accessible for all. So the way that we started looking at this was, the first step was to identify the streets based on their character and function. So looking at that, this helped determine for us the typology, which we've categorized here, which I'll go through in a second. But that begins to help shape for us what improvements should happen on what street. And so starting at the broadest street and going down to a finer level of detail, Front Street is really, as I mentioned, this waterfront promenade, the street that goes along the river the entire length of the city, essentially. Next, we have Main Street, which is Warren Street, the main commercial street in the city, which is really in itself a destination. Next, on the right, Dock Street is really an access drive, and it accesses both some industrial uses, but then also it accesses a series of park spaces that are along the northern edge of the northern section of that part of the city. Next is the residential streets, Allen Street and Union Street, Columbia Street, really all have that similar character. Followed by the residential connectors, First and Second Street, which really are the north-south connections of the city, of this particular area. Then what we're calling a parkway and a neighborhood drive. Once you get onto the waterfront down on Broad Street and Water Street and Ferry Street, that really has that feel of you're moving through a park. And State Street is really a neighborhood drive. You have the park spaces, the green on the right side of the street, and you have housing and residential dwellings on the left side of the street. And then you get down to the sort of finest level of detail, which is the alleys and a shared street. We're calling Cross Street a shared street, and then Partition Street, Cherry Alley, and Prison Alley obviously are those small streets that allow access to the different streets and housing on those streets. So very important when we look at the typologies of these streets. Again, one of the goals being to make everything accessible. It's very important that there aren't any gaps in this network. And with that, we get to the intersections, because it's important for the streets to obviously be accessible, but if the intersections aren't, then those streets can't be stitched together. So it's those intersections that are very important, that they are, again, made accessible, given the right amount of improvements to really take those streets and stitch them together. And we have categorized the intersections within the district in 4 different categories. The first being where the alley intersections hit the adjacent streets. And again, those are smaller interventions. Then there are the standard intersections. The standard intersections happen at various points within the city, and we'll go into their treatments as we move through the presentation. Commercial intersections, those are those intersections that interact with Warren Street, obviously being the main street in the city. So those are have different uses around them. They have some retail and commercial spaces adjacent to them, whereas the standard intersections are more residential in character. And then finally, the last category is unique intersections. And the unique intersections are intersections that have unique circumstances and situations and adjacencies that we feel should be addressed in a different manner than the commercial and standard intersections, and actually present opportunities to further express, some of the character that we want to out of these streets. So for instance, along Front Street, you'll notice some of the unique intersections land on those streets. And it's really a way in which we can tie the waterfront to those intersections and bring that connection from the waterfront to the city. The next layer is that of a bicycle network. And currently the Empire Trail comes down Mill Street, goes along Dock Street, turns on Front Street, and then comes back up Allen and out via 3rd Street. So naturally this places bikes on Front Street, which, given the number of amenities and destinations, we felt should be extended the entire length of Front Street, from basically Broad Street all the way to Dock Street. And in an effort to better connect the rest of the city by bike, we've also identified Allen Street, which already has the Empire Trail on it for a portion of it, and State Street as the means in which the rest of the city can connect and move, back and forth and get you all the way down to Front Street, to the waterfront, to the different park spaces that exist there. The other thing that we have layered in here are a series of bicycle nodes at key points you'll see in the parks, at the train station, that again support that infrastructure. Some of the bicycle facilities that we're looking at, on the picture on the left, you see an example of a raised shared use path. So actually elevated above the adjacent street. And this is really a great facility for more of a variety of riders. People who are recreational in nature and in cycling are going to be more comfortable being separated from the traffic itself. And then there are areas where the space does not allow us to do something like a shared use path, where we're recommending shared lane markings or sharrows to make sure that bikes are very visible. The next series of slides I want to quickly go through are the series of improvements that will be applied to various areas within the district. Things like pavement markings, lane and shoulder striping, consistency in the stop bars, high visibility crosswalks, all important when it comes to pedestrian safety, and then also cues to slow cars down and provide the proper movements for them. The next is curb extensions, and there are 3 curb extensions that we see being utilized. A standard curb extension where we're extending the curb and maybe it's just pavement, using that curb extension as an amenity area where either outdoor cafe tables and chairs can be provided that can support local businesses, or public seating that the city would maintain and care for. That again gives people the opportunity to sit and relax, especially important from an economic standpoint as people are window shopping and that kind of thing. And then finally, utilizing curb extensions for green infrastructure where we can utilize plants and that kind of thing to infiltrate some of the water and take some of the burden off of the system. Very important, curb ramps, making sure that every single intersection is accessible, and this can be done. There's a number of different curb ramps that can be applied. The most important thing is just recognizing that the tactile pavers are in place, that the proper grades are there so that they are compliant, and that would be a feature for any of the intersections. So that is just a number of elements that will be involved in these streetscape improvements. What I'd like to do now is move through some examples of how these improvements that we've been talking about can be applied to various specific areas within the district. And the first that we're going to look at is the State Street corridor. And just as a reminder, this was one of the sites where the demonstration project, one of the demonstration projects was installed. And the image on the left, important to recognize that there is no sidewalk here currently. And that was the point of the demonstration project, was to show an area that could be captured back for people to walk safely along that side of the street. And you can see in the image the actual desire line where the grass is starting to get packed down a little bit, where people are walking. Making sure that in the lower right, you see the mid-block crossing. Some of the striping is starting to fade. The curb ramps are not there on both sides of the street, and the same with the intersection itself. So the next image that I'm flashing up here is basically the State Street corridor, and we're going to look at 3 components of improvements that we're making to the corridor itself. So to orient you, you see 2nd Street at the top left of the screen, and State Street is kind of right in the middle. And what we'd like to highlight over the next series of slides is the intersection itself and how we treat that intersection, taking, again, those elements and applying them to the street. We've talked about a shared use path. And again, this being critical because there currently is not a sidewalk on this side of the street. So we're looking at a shared use path that can connect 2nd Street all the way down to Front Street, off-road for people on bikes, people walking, strollers, to accommodate safely those users. And then finally, the last component of this corridor is a raised mid-block crossing, which you can see here. So what I'm going to do now is put the intersection on the screen here, and you can see 2nd Street running from the bottom left of the screen to the upper right, and State Street itself running from the lower right to the upper left. And just going to highlight some of the improvements here. ADA curb ramps, high visibility crosswalks, the striping with the stop bars, stop signs, layering in some street furniture in benches and bike racks and trash receptacles. In the left side of the screen on that corner, you can see where we've gained some additional planting, and that can be an area where we utilize green infrastructure. We can incorporate some educational signage in that. And these are the types of improvements that would make up this particular intersection, but could be applied to other standard intersections throughout the city. And we're also showing concrete saw cut lines in this image. I'd like to then move down eye level. If you notice here, we're standing down past that mid-block crossing, looking up the left side of State Street, where currently there is no sidewalk. And you can see this shared use path here, where again, people on bikes, walking, strollers, and that kind of thing would have a great facility to go from 2nd Street all the way to Front Street. And then finally, within this corridor, showing a raised mid-block crossing, really bringing prominence to the pedestrian and their safety as they cross this portion of the street. There is obviously a number of residents that live in this area and that access the park on the other side there. So it's important that cars see them, and it's very visible with signage and actually tabling this crossing. So as you approach it, the asphalt actually comes up to the curb level, the sidewalk level, and levels off so that people are crossing at the sidewalk level. And again, finding ways to incorporate some green plantings that again, bring color and bring some vibrancy to the street. We're also showing in this rendering for this corridor lighting, and we would have to again look at that as you know, if this is something that we move forward with in the first phase of construction of this, and how we supplement the lighting that's there currently. So that's an example of a standard intersection and how that can be applied throughout the city, an example of the shared use path along the State Street corridor, as well as a mid-block bump out. Next, I want to move to Warren and 2nd Street to show an example of what a commercial intersection could look like. And again, here we see similar issues of faded striping, sort of lack of continuity in signage, ADA accessible ramps not present at all the corners, and in some ways a bit nondescript, right? We want to bring out that historic character of the street, of the town, of the city, and this rendering shows what that could look like. So 2nd Street, again, going from the bottom left to the upper right, Warren Street from the lower right to the upper left. And what we've done here is we've shown bump outs at the corners. Those bump outs range from 4 to 6 feet. Again, one of the things in the demonstration project that we did was we showed bump outs, and we're making sure that we take the feedback that we received from the demonstration projects and making sure that the bump outs themselves are not too aggressive, so that it's solving what we want it to solve and making the distance shorter for pedestrians to cross, which makes it safer, but also allowing cars some room not to feel too tight and too squeezed. So we're showing 4 to 6 foot bump outs. And with those bump outs, we can capture more space for either plantings, which we're showing on the right and on the lower, the left corner there. That could, again, be green infrastructure that could be signed and called out for educational purposes. We're showing on the lower right and in the upper left 2 different types of seating that can be captured with the bump out. Public seating, where we can have benches so that, as people are strolling through the city, they can take a seat. Or to support the local businesses, there can be more space captured for outdoor dining, as the pandemic has proven to help. So one thing I want to point out in that image on the right, in the upper left with the cafe tables, is we're showing right now no loss of parking. However, if it were desirable, we could take a space where a restaurant exists and capture more room so that they could get more space and expand the sidewalk. A couple other little details to mention here: the high visibility crosswalks, boxing out the intersection itself, wayfinding and signage at the corners. You could see the sign, using granite to engrave the city of Hudson, and the street names. As you approach, you reinforce the streets. Signage, new street signs, ganging them or grouping them with existing signage so that there's less clutter but clear direction. And again, furniture throughout. And just an eye-level shot of what that could look like. You can see that distance being shortened, the cafe tables, the green and the seating. So moving along to a typical alley treatment. And we're going to look at, this is Cherry Alley and Front Street. And the improvements here are simple. Basically adding a driveway apron to raise the level to the sidewalk so that it, again, gives priority to people crossing here. We are recommending maybe cobblestone aprons to, again, tie into that history. And then where possible, stop bars and signage to make sure that vehicles are stopping before going. So reinforcing that safety for pedestrians. So goal 3, last goal to go through, reconnecting the waterfront. Again, Front Street is this great street going the length of the Hudson River in the city. And we really want to celebrate the various connection points to the Hudson River. You have Henry Hudson Riverfront Park, Promenade Hill Park, you have the community gardens and the fishing village. And these things really should tie into Front Street and give Front Street that character that really connects it from the city to the waterfront itself. And there's a couple ways in which we can do this, and we'll talk about an example. But some of the elements that we're proposing along Front Street are tabled intersections, raising the entire intersection to the sidewalk level to give priority to pedestrians as they cross the street, to slow vehicles down. And again, an example of a tabled crossing. One last picture of that. And then looking at another spot where we actually, one of the demonstration projects was installed at Front and Warren Street. And we want to look at this as a corridor. So we're looking at Front and Warren Street, really Front Street from Allen to State Street. And currently, the way that section looks is like this. There's 10-foot sidewalks on either side, and parking and travel lanes that essentially add up to in the neighborhood of 42 to 45 feet, give or take, depending on where you are. Again, we don't have a survey at this point, but we've measured, and roughly that's the makeup of the street. And what we're proposing is changing the structure of the street and adding a promenade on the water side of the street. And we're doing that by taking some of the sidewalk and also taking some of the width out of the street. And you can see that here. So the main point here to make is that we're looking at capturing a 16-foot promenade along the water side of the street, where we can have basically a 5 to 6 foot sidewalk, an 8-foot shared use path, and a 3-foot buffer, and keep the on-street parking that's there. That was very important as we move through this process. We recognize that we have to get into the detail of this. There's minimal parking spaces lost with doing this. There may be a space or two or so that we may have to lose, but for the most part, we're able to keep all of the parking along that side of the street. So moving to a plan to see how that shakes out. On this plan, orienting you in the middle of the page is basically Warren Street. From left to right is Front Street, and at the top of the page here of the screen is Promenade Hill Park. And we've sort of ghosted in the improvements that Star White House is currently working on. That's essentially how the park entrance is going to meet the street, and we've been coordinating with them to make sure that both of these plans work well together. What you'll notice here is, again, bumping out the corners, bumping out the top of the street there along Promenade Hill Park to, again, create shorter crossing distances, tabling that intersection, bringing in pockets of green and planting to pull the park across the street, and utilizing those materials, granite pavers, granite sets, the tinted concrete, to establish the ground plane. You'll also see along Front Street the shared use path at the top of the street there with a sidewalk as well. I want also to point out on the upper right-hand side, the bus stop, we're accommodating that. So we're making sure that that is again, still accommodated in this plan. And I'm going to flip to a bird's eye kind of aerial rendering that shows a little bit more detail on what this will look like. And you can see in the foreground, the bump out on the corner of Front and Warren, where that existing little pocket park is. We're adding seating, planting, street furniture, street lights. And on the Promenade Hill Park side, one of the things that we would like to do is pull some of the features of Promenade Hill Park all the way out to the street. As a detail, the street itself is being raised. So one of the things we need to do is make sure that the pedestrians are protected through bollards and that kind of thing. And we feel that on this side, bringing out a series of boulders or rock outcroppings really ties into Promenade Hill Park and can be a way in which we can identify the park and maybe incorporate signage and really pull that out to the street. We've also done that in the granite bands, the paver bands that are located at the two sides of the bump out where they can say Promenade Hill Park. And then just dropping down to eye level here so you can get an idea of, again, what that may look like. The shared use path here in the foreground with the sidewalk. You can see the engraved granite paver there, Promenade Hill Park, some of the plantings and the boulders and the stones, the intersection being raised itself, really, again, accommodating pedestrians. So in a very fast, quick nutshell, that's how some of these improvements can be applied. And in terms of next steps, we are working on the overall connectivity plan. This is a diagram that kind of depicts all of those improvements and how all of that functions together to pull the waterfront into Front Street and how the streets stitch together, those intersections, everything like that, where we will then provide a level of detail that you won't be able to read most likely on your screen, but a series of matrices that outline each street, the different improvements that we're proposing, and which street gets what improvement. So we're doing that for both the streets themselves and the intersections. So for instance, Allen Street needs to get concrete sidewalks. There needs to be some repair work and tree pits, and so on and so forth. So both for the streets and the intersections themselves. And just to end on the project schedule in a little bit more detail, where we are right now is council presentation number 1. This is the first time we are presenting in front of the council. We plan on collecting feedback, getting some thoughts on what we've been proposing, making any revisions necessary, continuing to work through the plan so that we can give order of magnitude cost and start to talk about phasing and implementation of the project itself and what will be built. So we will present on January 11th at the council meeting, where we'll focus more on what the project is looking like it's going to be for construction. We'll submit the final connectivity plan at the end of January, and then basically start to look at design and implementation of the project that is identified. So with that, I want to thank you all for your time. And at this point, I'm not sure how this will work, but if there's any questions or different things like that you'd like to ask of myself, Dave is there as well. We can answer any questions that you may have.
So we'll begin with council questions first. And I know Tiffany Garriga has a question. Tiffany?
Yes, thank you. First, I would like to say thank you for your presentation. I am extremely impressed with the samples that you have shown. It's very exciting and something to look forward to, something that the people have been requesting for years. It's a beautiful thing. I can't wait to actually see it in person.
Thank you.
I just wanted to know if it was a possibility to have some type of like, because I noticed in the diagrams you did place the bus stops in certain diagrams, in certain pictures. I just was curious to know if there was some way somehow through this project, if we can get some type of like a shield, cover, protectant on these certain bus stops that can help people with disabilities that are riding the bus that have to wait in those certain areas for the bus stop, protecting them from like the weathers that we have here with the heavy snows and the heavy rains, things like that.
Right. Yes, absolutely.
Okay, that was an easy question. Next question is, thank you, Tiffany. Next question from Jane.
Hi, thanks, Tom. All right,
You're on. We can hear you.
To echo Tiffany's comments, these are just beautiful plans, and it's very exciting. I am on the council representing the First Ward, and constituents often ask about implementation of stop signs on Lower Union, which is within this district, to sort of calm the traffic that sometimes is racing down to the train station, to catch the train for whatever reason. But the traffic at particularly First and Union is often called to my attention as just a speed lane, because First Street does not go through. It's dead ends at Union there. So I'm wondering if it's within the scope of this project to include a traffic stop at that intersection of First and Union. Specifically, would be for the south, or for the westbound traffic. So I'm thinking of the stop sign that would be on the northeast corner of the intersection.
We will absolutely look at that.
Thank you.
Thank you, Jane. Dominic has a question.
Thank you, Tom. Just a great presentation. Thank you very much, guys. Quick question on these crosswalks for heavy pedestrians. Are these going to be signal boxes on these crosswalks, especially the mid crosswalks? and any of these crosswalks going to have signal boxes for safety?
We can look at that. I think that there are a number of different applications that we can look at for any of those mid-block crossings. There are the flashing beacons, that help make it more visible. There's a number of different things that we can look at, signage and related that ensure that it's highly visible.
Okay,
And
thank you.
that was one of the reasons why we were looking at in key spots raising those mid-block crossings, just to elevate the visibility of people looking to get across the street itself.
Correct, and that's also a traffic calming method,
Right.
correct?
Yes, you're right.
Thank
Yep.
Okay, any other council members have questions? I don't see any
I
hands.
have one more question.
Oh, okay, Tiffany?
I was taking pictures of your examples there because I want to show my constituents. But I have a suggestion just because of the constituents that I talk to and work with that are in wheelchairs. And that was just the one picture that I wasn't able to take when you showed the different examples of the squared concrete joints and the granite
The
concrete and a tinted concrete, I believe.
Was it this?
Yep, that's it. So let me take a quick picture of that. So just a suggestion. I think the flatter, the better. Yes, the granite sets is beautiful. So is the one in the bottom middle. But just knowing how and being along by side, and we also put a video out on YouTube, just seeing how people with disabilities and senior citizens walking with their walkers, they somehow get in between those cracks, like in between the bricks and stuff, and they get stuck. And when they get stuck, it can jerk and they can fall over. So just keep that in mind. Like the flatter, the better.
Absolutely. And just
Thank you.
to let you know that the granite sets that you see in this image, where we were proposing using them, were not in the path of travel. They were highlights at places that people aren't walking.
Okay, anybody else from the
Oh,
council?
okay, even better. Thank you.
Thank you, Tiffany. Any other council members? And quickly, anybody from the public? We want to wrap this up pretty quickly since we have a long meeting tonight. Anybody from the public? Okay, I have Aaliyah Schneider.
Hi, thank you. Could you clarify what the steps are going to be from in between now and the next presentation?
Sure. We're going to be collecting any further feedback from the council and their comments on the plans themselves, working with them to begin looking at the cost implications of these improvements and how we can best spread those costs out to cover as much ground of the district as we can, to determine what are the priorities, where do we want to see the money spent, and improve which corridors, which intersections, covering different gaps and that kind of thing. So we're going to have those discussions. And then at the next meeting, we'll present basically the summary of that and what we think is the way in which we're going to move forward with the construction dollars and what that's going to cover. Does that answer the question?
Yes,
Yep.
so you'll be discussing with the Common Council. Is that?
Well, through the steering committee that we're working with, which is led by Tom and Michael Shemavis.
Oh, okay. Thank you.
Okay, David, James, Said, thank you very much. Appreciate it. When we're moving on.
Okay. Thank you
Thank
very
you.
much. Appreciate it.
Good night, gentlemen.
Thank you. Bye.
Okay, back to the main meeting. Shaheen, can I have the first resolution, please? Okay, we're gonna go through the the four resolutions from last week real quickly. Appointing Commissioner deeds. Can I have a roll call vote, please, Tracy?
Sure. Alderman Garriga.
Aye.
Halloran.
Aye.
Lewis.
Aye.
Moranci.
Aye.
Mizan.
Aye.
Rosenthal.
Aye.
Sauer.
Aye.
Trombley.
Aye.
Walker.
Aye.
Wolf.
Aye.
President DiPietro.
Aye. The
Carried.
next oh, sorry. Thank you, Tracy. The next resolution, Shaheen, please. This, as you might recall, is calling on the Biden administration for COVID money. Can I have a roll call vote, please, Tracy?
Alderman Garriga.
Aye.
Halloran.
Aye.
Lewis.
Aye.
Moranci.
Aye.
Mizan.
Aye.
Rosenthal.
Aye.
Sauer.
Aye.
Trombley.
Aye.
Walker.
Aye.
Wolf.
Aye.
President DiPietro.
Aye.
Carried.
Thank you. The next resolution, please, Shaheen. And this is the resolution authorizing the mayor to ask Assemblywoman Barrett to put forth a 25-mile-per-hour speed limit in the city of Hudson. And it's been corrected to not exclude the truck routes. Can I have a roll call vote, please?
Alderman Garriga.
Through the concerns of my constituents, yes, they are concerned about the speeding of and coming down the street, going to the train, as it was stated earlier. We just don't want this to be an excuse to find this as a reason to harass Black and brown people. And with that being said, aye.
Halloran.
Aye.
Lewis.
Aye.
Moranci.
Aye.
Mizan.
Aye.
Rosenthal.
Aye.
Sauer.
Aye.
Trombley.
Aye.
Walker.
Aye.
Wolf.
Aye.
President DiPietro.
Aye.
Carried.
Okay, before we go into the next resolution, a very brief comment by Jeff Anzavino of Scenic Hudson. Are you out there, Jeff? You still with us? Let's see.
I am.
Oh, yeah, there you
I just had to unmute.
Yep.
First, Jeff Anzavino, Director of Land Use Advocacy at Scenic Hudson. And I've been working with municipalities between Dutchess County all the way up to Rensselaer County to try to come up with a safer way, a way to reduce risk along the Amtrak line while promoting additional public access. And it was done in March of 2020. It highlights ways to allow people to walk along the tracks on trail or across the tracks as happens in other communities across the country. The resolution before you is very similar to 7 other seven other resolutions that have passed unanimously. Dutchess County Legislature, the Columbia County Board of Supervisors, Rensselaer County Legislature, towns of Hyde Park, Rhinebeck, Village of Tivoli, and the Village of Castleton on Hudson have all passed resolutions asking the Department of State to assist in developing a regional shoreline access plan that uses these 21st century techniques to allow people to cross the tracks or go along the tracks to public access areas. Would love it if the city of Hudson would likewise pass a resolution so that we can have strength in numbers, communities up and down the line between Dutchess and Rensselaer County to ask for the same thing. I know things are a little bit different in Hudson now because there's a gate that it may be a new gate or it may be a gate that's been there for a while but is just now recently closed. But I think that gate being closed really prevents people from using the Hudson River at points, for example, just south of the Colarusso dock, all the way down to South Bay. It's a very popular place for fishing. So we'd hope that Scenic Hudson would love to work with the city to try to ensure access along the shoreline for fishing and other water-related uses. That's
Okay, thank you very much. We forwarded this last week. So can we have a roll? I guess we can go right to the roll. Are there any questions from council member?
Yeah, that, I think, can I go first?
Sure.
I definitely support what Jeff was saying there, and we should have a resolution along the lines of what Jeff is talking about. But also, I mean, we should definitely be asserting our rights to access along that right of way there, and really make us think about this gate issue. Because, I mean, when did that go up? You know, Tom?
Oh.
Okay.
Jane, do you have a question?
Yeah, I have a question, and I agree with what John Roosevelt just said about this gate business. It seems, yeah, I'd like to know more about that. But the other thing is that we've just seen this presentation of the Bridge District, which includes, I believe, the area in question that we're talking about. So I don't want to, put a crink in the works, but how does have we really looked at how this resolution kind of dovetails with the plans for the Bridge District? How does it, are we contradicting ourselves? They should work. Sir, I'm not clear on this. It seems like we're looking at almost two different things, and I don't want to.
Yeah, we are. I think we are.
Yeah, so I think there are a lot of questions around this. We're kind of a unique case. Totally respect what Scenic Hudson is doing and understand and agree with the strength of numbers, but we're a little bit of, sui generis here.
Okay. No, yeah. Let's, Tracy, can we have the roll call vote, please?
Alderman Garriga.
Aye.
Halloran.
Definitely aye.
Lewis. I'm sorry.
Aye.
Thank you. Moranti.
As someone who has been educated and had a lot of recreation time down by the river, I definitely, no restriction is, less restriction, the better.
Mizan.
Aye.
Rosenthal.
Aye.
Sauer.
Aye.
Trombley.
Aye.
Walker.
Yeah, I just wanted to find out, is it cost effective?
What's that?
Just the cost of.
There's resolution, no cost.
Oh, this is the rest of the resolution. Okay. I'm gonna say aye.
Okay.
I'm gonna say aye.
Wolf.
Aye.
President DiPietro.
Aye.
Carried.
Okay, on to new resolutions. Shaheen, can you put up number 5? These should go relatively fast. A lot of them are transfers of funds. This resolution reappoints Hannah Black, Cece Graham and Kate Tracy to the tourism board. I want to tell you that I've gone to pretty much all their meetings. They've done a phenomenal job. The only person not being reappointed is Sydney Long, who feels she's needs to spend time on other things in this coming year. So I want to thank Sydney for her service. She did a great job this past year. That all being said, can I have an introduction?
I'll introduce Tom.
Okay, Jane, and a second, please.
Calvin, I'll second.
Calvin. Tracy, can I have a roll call vote, please?
Alderman Garriga.
Aye.
Halloran.
Aye.
Lewis.
I just want to say, as chairman of the tourism board, it's been a pleasure working with these three members, in addition to Sydney Long, and I look forward to more good meetings. That said, I say aye.
Moranti.
Aye.
Nizan.
Aye.
Rosenthal.
Aye.
Sarar.
Aye.
Trombley.
Aye.
Walker.
Aye.
Wolf.
Aye.
President DiPietro.
Aye.
Carried.
Shaheem, the next resolution, please. This resolution settles with Eric Galloway's grievance, Article 7 grievance about his taxes. As you see, if you know about it, the assessor recommends this settlement. The Article 7 is no longer in play. And the assessment agrees with the total, with what the asking price of the building is. And there will be no refund either. So this is a good resolution of the, a good settlement, I should say. Any questions before we vote?
This is the one property, or how many properties?
It's got an accessory building in the back. That's a separate lot number.
Okay,
Okay.
thank you.
Okay, can I have an introduction, please? Someone?
Duan.
Dewan. A second, please.
Shershah.
Trisha. I should have actually had Calvin go in the waiting room, but that's okay. Calvin, you don't get to vote on this. I don't think it's any problem here. So having said that, Tracy, can you give a roll call vote, please?
Alderman Garriga.
Aye.
Halloran.
Aye.
Am I calling on Alderman Lewis because he is in attendance?
No.
Okay. Moranti.
Aye.
Nizan.
Aye.
Rosenthal.
Plugging my nose, aye.
Sarar.
Aye.
Trombley.
With reservations, aye.
Walker.
Aye.
Wolf.
Aye.
President DiPietro.
Aye.
Carried.
Shaheem, the next resolution, please. Tracy, you want to explain this since you're in charge of this, I believe, right?
Yes. Basically what the New York State Archives did is that they condensed 4 records retention and disposition schedules. Therefore, the council has to adopt a new schedule, which is named the LGS-1. And this needs to be adopted by the council by January 1st, or we will not be able to do any disposal of any records.
Okay, thank you. Can I have an introduction, please?
Go on.
Come on. A second, please.
Calvin.
Calvin. A roll call vote, please. Tracy.
Alderman Garriga,
Aye.
Halloran,
Aye.
Lewis,
Aye.
Moranti,
Aye.
Mizan,
Aye.
Rosenthal,
Aye.
Sauer,
Aye.
Trombley,
Aye.
Walker,
Aye.
Wolf,
Aye.
Mr. DiPietro.
Aye.
Carried.
Shaheen, the next resolution, please. This is a transfer within the fire department accounts. A roll call vote, please.
No,
need
you
an
can
introduction.
introduce.
What's that?
Need to introduce, right?
Oh, I'm sorry. Thank you. Right. Sorry. I was thrown off by Tracy's address. Can I have an introduction, please?
Calvin.
Calvin. A second. Who was the second?
Go on.
Go on. A roll call vote, please.
Alderman Garriga,
Aye.
Halloran,
Aye.
Lewis,
Aye.
Moranti,
Little shout out to Dewan for catching that introduction. I think that was awesome. Aye.
Mizan,
Aye.
Rosenthal,
Aye.
Sauer,
Aye.
Trombley,
Aye.
Walker,
Aye.
Wolf,
Aye.
President DiPietro.
Thank you. Aye.
Carried.
Next resolution, please, Shaheen. This is a contribution to the youth department from, in memory of David Hickey, from Henry and Linda Theis. Can I have an introduction, please?
Go on.
A second, please.
Calvin.
Calvin. Roll call vote, please, Tracy.
Alderman Garriga,
Aye.
Halloran,
Aye.
Lewis,
Aye.
Moranti,
Aye.
Mizan,
Aye.
Rosenthal,
Aye.
Sauer,
Aye.
Trombley,
Aye.
Walker,
Aye.
Wolf,
Aye.
President DiPietro.
Aye.
Carried.
Next resolution, please, Shaheen. A slew of DPW transfers that normally happen at this time of year. I don't think there's anything worth noting except that the tipping fees, continue to go up, but at the same time, garbage bag sales go up as well. So, can I have an introduction, please?
Calvin.
Calvin. A
Go
second.
on.
Dewan. Roll call vote, please, Tracy.
Alderman Garriga,
Aye.
Halloran,
Aye.
Lewis,
Aye.
Moranti,
Aye.
Mizan,
Aye.
Rosenthal,
Aye.
Sauer,
Aye.
Trombley,
Aye.
Walker,
Aye.
Wolf,
Aye.
President DiPietro.
Aye.
Carried.
The next resolution authorizes a loan. I think this was mentioned at finance today, if you were there. A loan from the general fund to cover expenses related to the DRI, and that will be reimbursed.
Reimbursement.
Loan?
Excuse me?
Why?
Reimbursed who?
I'm sorry, one at a time. I couldn't hear what either of you were saying. Dewan, I think, was first.
Yeah, I said, why they need a loan?
We need the loan to pay the bill
I mean, yeah, I mean, okay.
because
from
we
here.
haven't gotten the reimbursement yet.
I got you, okay.
Tiffany, did you have a question?
When do we receive the reimbursement?
I wish I could answer that. The state is behind in sending us the reimbursement.
They didn't give any type of indication, a month, 2 months, next year, 2 years.
Well, no, I mean, I wish I knew.
Yeah, we're at the top of the priority list there.
Yeah. Can I have an introduction in a second, please?
All right, Dewan.
A second, please.
I'll second it.
Sure, beat you, Jane.
Okay.
Can I have a roll call vote, please?
Alderman Garriga.
Aye.
Halloran.
Aye.
Lewis. Moranci.
Aye.
Mizan.
Aye.
Rosenthal.
Aye.
Sauer.
Aye.
Trombley.
Aye.
Walker. Wolf.
Aye.
President DiPietro.
Aye.
Carried.
Okay. We're going to go into an executive session. I need a motion to go into executive. Who was that?
Dewan.
Go on. And a second to go into executive session to discuss personnel issues. Do I have a second?
Sure, sir.
All in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Okay. I turned off the radio in case you're curious.
Recording is on, live is
What?
on.
I'm sorry.
Recording and live.
I'm sorry. Say that again.